Well, we are here. Where are we? We're at a pub. We've come to the pub.
We are. This is Goodwood weekend, but we're not at Goodwood. We're in sneezing distance of Goodwood, aren't we?
Yeah, we're in an area that says you're not allowed to park here or do anything here if you're going to the Festival of Speed. It's that close. It is a stone's throw away. And summer has reappeared, hasn't it? We had 2 days of summer, and then it's just been autumn for the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? But it's glorious this year. I think this is the best weather of the year.
Raining sideways for part of the day, and now, well, it's beautiful. We're sat outside in a rather lovely pub garden in the Anglesey Arms down in Town Acker, which I've eaten here before. It's really good. If you're driving through, it's worth a stop. But I came on a Friday lunchtime and needed a book. So, a book, I would say. Well, that would be my advice. But here we are. And, we have something exciting, aren't we?
Yes, it's a lovely setting, it's a lovely venue, it's a lovely day. The lawn's looking lovely, I must admit, as well. That's probably due to the rain and the sun that we've had. It's a perfect grass-growing conditions. I'm getting lawn envy. But today is the 10th of July, and there's been plenty of hype on social media about the rebirth of a legend.
There certainly has.
An 80s throwback, an icon, a name that will be on everybody's lips. And we are talking not about the Ford Capri, we'll get on to that later. We are talking about something far more exciting, the 355.
We are, yeah. So that's 30 years old this year. I think it's a 1994 car. Originally they came out. Hard to think it was that long ago. But we...
does that make me feel old or not? I don't think it does. No, that seems about right to me. That seems okay, I think.
I don't know, does it? Again, I'm starting to feel a bit old. In my mind, I'm thinking GoldenEye and all the rest of it. Doesn't seem that long ago, but there we go. So Pininfarina design, beautiful classic wedge shape, bit of and the next step on from the 348.
Hang on, GoldenEye was 1994.
Was it? I suppose it must have been.
No, you said GoldenEye.
Oh, no, it was in GoldenEye, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it was, yeah. Hang on, actually, no, GoldenEye is probably about that sort of time as well. That's making me feel old.
It was
anyway,
launch of the Z3. That was the car for the film, if you remember. That blue Z3. It was just before they came out, and I think he drives it down a road, and that's pretty much all he does in it. Need to think about that. I've just got the GoldenEye theme tune from the M64 stuck in my head.
I think we should probably do some research on these things before. Actually, no. Let's not break with tradition. Let's never research anything. So I'll look that up on my generic search engine of choice whilst you're carrying on your train of thought. Anyway, the 355.
Yes, but this isn't the 355 as we know it, is it? I mean, we've been invited here to take a look at a new, evolved Evoluto 355, which promises to be something quite special. Now, I have seen some sneak peek images of this vehicle, which haven't been released yet, and I don't think you have quite seen it yet, have you?
I'm just looking at. Well, I'm looking at two tabs on my generic smartphone from a fruit manufacturer. Other smartphones are available, and
is it a BlackBerry?
No, GoldenEye was 1995. So actually, that makes me feel old. To be fair, that makes me feel older than the 355. But I don't know. Is that just because I play GoldenEye, watch GoldenEye? The reason I have the watch that I'm wearing today is because it was in GoldenEye. So is that I'm probably more connected and in the target bracket of GoldenEye than I am the 355. That was always just the poster car for me. So maybe it's that. It's a timeless classic, isn't it? But yes, I'm just flicking through the images now. Wow. Wow. And yeah, wow.
I think probably the place that the 355 needed the most help, and I would argue that the outside of it is a classic shape. I think that possibly this is going to be one of those that we look back at as one of the greatest Ferraris, one of the last of the hand-built, one of the first of the new generation, arguably. And I think it's just very pretty, the sort of flying buttress-shaped rear window, 355, 3.5 litre engine in the thing. Just a beautiful classic car. But the inside, well, they've done wonders with that. That does look nice.
Yes, as soon as we are able to put the various images up on our socials, we will do so. We are at UKMotorTalk everywhere, so do check them out. And I think you'll be sat there for quite a while looking at them because they're beautiful pictures of a beautiful car, aren't they? But yeah, the interior is. I mean, the lighting's very odd. It makes it look a bit like an aquarium in the pictures.
It's very nightclubby.
It's good. I like it. But it's they've retrimmed it and jazzed it up a bit. I think it's fair to say.
I think that era of Ferrari for me is always the sticky Fiat switches. You know the ones I mean, where after a while they start to get the top cover just seems to get that little bit sticky.
Yeah, the rubberising disappears, doesn't it? I think you can get them redone, can't you? But it's occasionally a little bit hit and miss as to how good they turn out. But it's certain things like that. Do you really care? Probably not.
Probably not. But
if the car was brand new, I think you'd be upset about them. If it's a classic 355 that we're talking about, then you're probably less concerned, aren't you?
It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me if I happened to be in the market, I have to say. But this one, it does away with a lot of the sort of Italian Fiat switchgear. I said, can I say Fiat switchgear? I'm going to say it. It's sort of Fiat-y switchgear, isn't it, of that sort of era. But it updates the interior beautifully and, of course, keeps that gorgeous gated manual, which is, well, you need that, I think, don't you?
Oh, definitely. Are we looking at the cocktails, are we?
I am. I'm looking at the cocktails. But you say a bit about the company. I mean, I just wanted to say that in front of us we're sat on a beautiful white sofa, which is a bold move anyway.
We're just entering the tangent hour of the podcast.
Yes. It would just start with me to go on, and they've got their own cocktail list for this car launch. So the Evoluto cocktails. So they've got the Negroni Rosso, which is a blend of premium gin, Campari, and artisanal sweet vermouth, chilled over ice and served with an orange twist. The Amaretto Royal, which is a nutty caramel, amaretto based, probably no surprise there, with fresh citrus. Well, there's a few. I'll come back to this, but there's one called Hugo d'Estate. D'Estate. A refreshingly crisp cocktail made with Prosecco, elderflower liqueur, garden mint, and a splash of soda water.
Prosecco. Anyway, back to slightly more interesting things.
Anyway, back to that.
Yes, we are here with Driven Automotive. So I say Driven because there's no vowels in the spelling of the name. Driven meaning driven, but D-R-V-N. The Driven Automotive Group. I mean, when they list the brands that they have under their umbrella, it's just pornography, really. Koenigsegg, Evoluto, their own advanced engineering department. Friends of the podcast, Alan Racing, of course. Evolution E-Types, JE Motorworks. Borum Motorworks, we'll come back to that in a minute. ITG.
Excited about that.
ITG, you will have heard of, and you'll certainly recognise the logo, induction systems, motorsport induction systems and things like that, and a production and recruitment company under the umbrella as well. But yeah, Borum Motorworks are licensed and connected to Ford, so we've got the Escort and the RS 200.
Yes, this is pretty exciting. I mean, they haven't revealed these yet, but there are going to be new versions of these, possibly continuation specials, I think.
Is that what was, just looking at the RS, is that what was outside under the cover? It looks a bit too long.
Ooh, that's a good question.
So I don't know.
Outside,
sure.
Under a cover, there is a vehicle which is very low with a centre exhaust and a reasonably big rear spoiler. I've seen a few RS200s in my time.
I thought, they're quite
taller.
Short. They're short and wide, aren't they? So this thing looked
long,
more sort of Alpine dimensions or scale, didn't it? So maybe not that, but who knows?
I'm tempted to go and have a look. But yes, there's more of this coming soon. So as soon as we know, we'll let you know. But the idea of there being new retro Fords coming through, I think is it's very tempting. We today have also experienced the launch of the new Ford Capri, which is an interesting concept. We watched a little presentation by the design team who proclaimed that they nailed it.
Did they? I mean, I don't get the Capri because it's the... first of all, it's not a Capri in the same way that the car that I drive is not a Mustang. I drive a Mach-E. And a Mach-E is fine. I can call it a Mach-E and that's okay. I've never referred to it as a Mustang because it's not a Mustang. A Mustang is a 2+2 coupe muscle car. A Capri was the UK version, wasn't it? It was the sports car, too, and a tiny bit of room in the back of it. And it was a slightly hooliganistic, reasonably peppy, rear-wheel drive, entertaining, fun driver's car.
I think it might actually have been penned by the same person that penned the Mustang, as it goes. Someone will fact check me on this, I'm sure. But
it's certainly got the same proportions, hasn't it? But it's got I suppose the Capri is to the Mustang as the Ranger is to the F-150. I suppose. The F-150's the honking, great, huge thing that lives in America because they've got bigger roads. The Ranger is what we have because it more suits the size of UK roads, so that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. I've just looked this up because, well, why not? Philip T. Clark was the creator of the iconic Mustang and of the first Capri, which was not hatchback like the later ones, Mark II and Mark III. And I think hatchback. I feel like I need to will up to this, just put one foot up on a wheel somewhere. But long story short, we've now got an SUV with a Capri badge on it, and it kind of looks like a Polestar 2, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, from the side it's a Polestar 2, but we've also had the Explorer that, I mean, technically was launched, 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years
18 months ago.
So I'm bored of it now, and it's not even out yet. But the Explorer is billed as the family SUV version, so they're both the same platform, the MEB platform from 2020 or whenever that first came out. The Explorer, which is the family version, and then the Capri, which is exactly the same interior philosophy, isn't it? Exactly the same dashboard, steering wheel, ridiculously annoying haptic VW switchgear. I'll say switchgear, they're not switches, but interface. The Capri is billed as the one you buy for you and the hooligan's car, the fun to drive, the whatever else. But the Capri has a bigger boot. And although the roofline looks a little bit coupe-like, it's not actually coupe-like when you look at the two side to side. It's that normal trick of the paint and the light and the way that the rear window design goes, the rear three-quarter window goes. So there's more room in a Capri, there's a bigger boot in a Capri, so why would you buy the Explorer?
Fact fans, I think it's 560 litres for a Capri boot, 470 litres for the Explorer boot. So yes, what they've managed to do is replace a vehicle that hasn't actually been launched yet for one with the same platform, but somehow managed to make a more attractive looking car where the only real contentious issue is, aside from that rear glass, it's not a Capri. So that's difficult. So we're here for a vehicle that is and promises to be very much the original car.
Yes.
It has the design cues of the original car because, of course, it is the original car. Ford, on the other hand, have decided to throw out the rule book and create something entirely that isn't what people really expected.
Yes, and they didn't even take... I mean, I'm copywriting this phrase now, or trademarking, or whatever you can do by speaking it or saying it or coming up with it. They didn't even call it a Capri with an E at the end, so CAPR-E. That would have been slightly better. A bit, like the Mini. I'm surprised they didn't call the electric Mini the Min-E, with an E at the end to denote electric, and it's a nod to the past, it's an homage to the past, but moving towards the future. I think to just call it the Capri, and then to say the legend is back, but it's an electric SUV. I mean, the Eric Cantona videos have been entertaining, although I did read one article on the matter that said Ford's teaser trailer showed an original Capri being driven by a man.
Even I knew who he was.
Yes, Eric Cantona. I mean, okay, it's technically accurate in that Eric Cantona is indeed a man, but in the same token that if something was being advertised by King Charles or Sir Lewis Hamilton, they are both men. But hang on, it's Eric Cantona, so there's a little bit of relevance to that.
But what is the relevance to Eric Cantona to the Capri? I have no idea.
No, I remember Eric Cantona from drop-kicking a supporter in the chest because he was upset with something he'd said, and being a bloody good footballer, and that's it. But I don't see what that's got to do with the Capri, because the Capri went out of production in 1986, I think. 1986. And Eric Cantona was a thing for Man United in the 90s, probably about the same sort of time as GoldenEye. So perhaps Driven should have used Eric Cantona to launch the 355, because that's probably more relevant, I would say.
Well, maybe they will. So what's the message, Eric Cantona and the Capri then? So maybe Ford are going to kick you in the heart, and then they have fantastic ball control.
I dread to think.
Nevertheless, I think probably our issue with this, it might be a fine car, we don't know, because it'd be a while before we see it, I think, probably Christmas time. But nevertheless, the issue that we have really is the name is contentious, much like the Mustang Mach-E, which again is an okay car, but it isn't a Mustang. So just stop it. Stop raiding the back catalogue.
Well, will it be okay? Because we haven't had a chance to drive the Explorer yet. I'm sure we will as soon as they start to hit dealerships. We'll toddle along and have a go in one. But I've seen a few reviews of it already, and it's fine to drive. It's okay to drive in the sense that no manufacturer really makes a bad car these days. But there's a difference between not a bad car and a good car, a great car, an entertaining drive, handling, ride, steering, feedback, precision, controls, etc. All the things that make it, all the sensations of driving. Ford have always had that for me since, well, the Mark I Focus. Everything that's come out since then has been wonderful to drive. Even the humble KA Active was a bit of a hoot to drive, let's be honest. They were all just really nice to drive. Say what you like about the badge, the engineering, the quality, the reliability, all that sort of stuff. They're always nice to drive. The reviews of the Explorer say it's fine. And fine is not nice, it's hello Jackie, you look nice, but it's not nice, is it? It's just fine. And who wants to be fine?
It's tricky, isn't it, really? Because I think what Ford have really had going for them for some period of time, as you say, the driver dynamics, and people will forgive other things because of that. So the moment that it doesn't have that as its defining feature, then yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if you can be just fine in a world full of electric SUVs, because we are now in a saturated market. We've driven loads, and of course we've told you about many of them, to the extent that maybe you're bored about hearing of them, but there we go. So it's nice for us today to be back with something that's perhaps a bit more analogue, something with an engine, something with some noise, and we look forward to telling you a bit more about it. Apart from this, one thing I do want to tell you about, actually, before we go into a bit more details of other things, and that is that the rear quarter treatment. Have you seen the rear quarter treatment on this? Because one of the first things that struck me were the rear vents.
On the 355, I assume, rather
on the
than
355.
on the Capri.
Yes.
There's any vents.
Yes.
No?
Well.
Expand.
I shall expand.
Show your work.
Show you're working. Partario Basin is on a train that's left Gloucester at 15:43. So in the back rear quarter of the car, there are now some vents, which are
gills.
Gills, which is very Ferrari, but not something you'd originally see, and some interesting rear diffuser treatment I've noticed.
Yes. I'm just admiring said rear diffuser.
Anyway, enough of this for now. Let's wait till the curtain drops, or opens. I can't actually tell which it's going to do. I'm going to say open, and we'll tell you a bit more about it in just a mo.
We've saved weight, we've increased power, we've increased torsional stiffness. We've done all of the things that you might expect, but the sort of dark art, as it were, of making a driver's car is a sum of the whole of the components that we've carefully poured over that is really going to resonate back to us as drivers and reinstill the thrill of driving. And when I mentioned antidote, we're in a really interesting time in the automotive era where a lot of the movement right now is going EV, we're going electrified. If we're not going electrified, we're surely as hell going heavy. And we are fighting weight. We're fighting weight, and we are prioritizing good times over lap times. This is not a car for the shopping run. This is a car that you want to take out for an excuse to stimulate everything that you want to achieve from a unique driving experience. And before you approach it and before you step out of it, you want to come away with some sort of memory or at least a big smile. So on that note, it's a pleasure and honor to introduce Driven Automotive CEO Ian Muir.
Thank you very much, James. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and fellow petrol heads, it's an honour to stand before you today on this momentous occasion. Today we witness not only the debut of the first car launched by Evoluto, but also the unveiling of the first remastered icon presented to the world by Driven Automotive Group. In a relentless pursuit to craft the perfect driving experience, one that stirs the soul and creates unforgettable memories. Our business is driven by the pure thrill of driving, a concept Darren coined peak analog. The recent announcement of our collaboration with Ford Motor Company is testament to that strategy, and with the unveiling of our first remastered car today, it becomes a reality. The 355 by Evoluto embodies the pinnacle of peak analog. It's a testament to the art of craftsmanship and engineering excellence of our teams. As we launch this remarkable vehicle, we're not just introducing the 355 by Evoluto, we're setting a new standard for the reimagined sector. We're redefining what it means to remaster an icon. We want you to experience the joy of shifting through the gears with our open gate manual gearbox. Feel the direct hydraulic steering feedback that encourages you to push harder into every bend. This is peak analog.
As you can imagine, each of these is incredibly bespoke. So a commission will start obviously by the client first bringing their donor car to us. So it's effectively them asking us to apply the work to them. The options are almost endless. I mean, even some of the early discussions that we've been having by clients have sort of exceeded our expectation in terms of their wants and needs when it comes to customization. We are officially saying that it's going to be no less than around 695,000 sterling, right? So that's your sort of ballpark starting price. It's really dictated by the client then how far to the moon they want to go. And some of them have really got rocket ships. Let's just put it that way.
I had a question really about the car. Obviously, the 355 there is beautiful, beautiful car. How do you decide what to add and what to take away in terms of the styling cues? Because there are a few extra little details, the vents, rear quarter, obviously in the nose as well. How do you decide what makes the grade?
Is this an Amjad or is this me?
Well, I think we left a lot of that to Ian Callum, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
So we had a brief with Ian as to what we wanted to do with the car, and there are some styling cues. I mean, there's a little bit of 288 GTO in the rear. You have to be sympathetic to the original design, because it was actually a very beautiful looking car even when it was new. But we left it to a pro. We were like, I'm great at making a car go around a corner and stop and handle, but I'm not very good at designing it, so we'll leave it to somebody that's really good at doing it.
I mean, on that, while there has been, styling to stir the soul, the majority of this, and not to sound desperately cliche, but the majority of the styling on this also has some sort of functional backing to it. So while that is a nod to the 288 GTO, it does an excellent job of bleeding pressure out of the wheel arches. So it's going, okay, we know we're going to need this functionality because what's come with remastering the aesthetics has also come with improving and remastering the performance too. And so we can't just say, okay, we're going to increase the horsepower of this by just over 100 horsepower and then strip a load of weight out to it and then just keep it as it was. This thing will be going into corners harder, it'll be reaching higher top speeds. And I think we're in a world where the expectation from the sort of client that is driving this car, we aren't pretending like there aren't other benchmarks out there in the remastered space where it has set an incredibly high bar. So while we want this thing to look awesome, we're also saying, okay, how can we make it functional and look great? And I would say the sort of vents on the rear there are a classic example of that.
We're very sympathetic to the exterior of the car. It was already a very pretty car. The biggest transformation has probably been in the interior. And we did that for two reasons. One, we wanted a lightweight substrate in the interior to reduce weight, but also we wanted to make the interior stand out and be up to the same par as the exterior of the car.
Well, I'm so full of dinner. We have just had the most amazing dinner with some fantastic recommendations by this man here, and we're all standing here smiling and we're looking at this beautiful car, and well, I'll let you introduce yourself, I think.
Yeah, I'm Ian Muir, CEO of Driven Automotive Group, and really proud to be showing Evoluto to the world for the first time. It's been a long 3-year journey. We've been designing and engineering this car quietly in the background, and tonight is the night we show it to the world.
And what a car. This is a beauty. Not gone for the obvious red, gone for a really deep dark blue that you could almost dive into. The paint is beautiful. And we're sat here, the sun's gone down now, it's dark, the lights are on the car, and it just looks incredible. It really does.
Yeah, it's got a lovely speckle through the paint, changes in the light. It's just, we wanted to go for something that was bold and made a bit of a statement. You've got the nice blue interior with the orange detailing inside, and the colour just pops.
Just thinking earlier, if I was lucky enough to have enough money to be able to afford something like this, I'm not sure I'd have the required taste to be able to spec it properly. But blue and orange are two of my favourite colours, so I think the fact that you've put the two together, it shows that actually I think I am ready for one of these. So this would be pretty much perfect for me. But I do just want to say thank you for having the vision, the bravery, and the just the stones really to go for something like this. On a day where certain previous classics have been reinvented in not the best way. This is just testament to the passion. But what's the feeling seeing something like this come together? You know, was there a real hang about, I've done it now, where pot committed moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a long journey designing a car from scratch. You know, you start off with your renders and working with the design and the team, going through the different iterations of what the car could look like. And with a business like ourselves, you want to go straight into production tooling, so you want to engineer it right first time, and you've got a long period where tooling gets put down before you actually get the parts back and start to see the car. And I'm not going to say it, well, you know, I was a bit nervous all coming together, but you know, it's really nice to hear people like yourself saying that we've got it right. You know, we thought we had, but really, you know, we don't know until we show it to the world. So, you know, the reaction we've had from everybody tonight has been exceptional, and couldn't be happier.
It's not just this car that you're building. I mean, you've been involved in so many different cars from an OEM perspective. So it's not like this has been put together in a shed. This has been put together by some of the best minds in the business, penned by, well, Ian Callum. You know, it needs no introduction really, just beautiful, beautiful cars.
Ian's got to be one of the, if not the best British car designer of all time, and he's done a phenomenal job with this car, starting with something that was so beautiful in the first instance. To be able to sympathetically elevate the car to where he has done is exceptional. And from our own perspective at Driven Automotive Group, we have for decades been operating as a white label engineering firm for the major OEMs. You know, we have done everything from specific subsystems in cars right through to full turnkey vehicle programs for the major OEMs. And what we wanted to do was take that skill set and that knowledge we've got and focus it onto our own product, something that we could make special as part of the group. So it's great to be able to do that. And speaking to some of the engineers who were here tonight at the launch, you know, they were saying that themselves, that a lot of the programs they've worked on, or all the programs they've worked on in the past, they were effectively a subcontractor for an OEM, and to actually do it for what they're calling their own product, they've all been really invested in it, that they see this as their car. And it is their car. They've done an incredible job. Certainly,
everyone we spoke to this evening has obviously lived this project the whole way through. But I thought it was just really important to make that differentiation, that this isn't a car that's just been resto-modded. This is a car that has been completely taken apart and re-engineered. This isn't a car that's been modified. This is a car that's been completely re-engineered. The components of the actual main car itself has been stiffened by carbon fibre pretty much everywhere, hasn't it? I think, is it 25% stiffer?
23% increase in stiffness. I mean, to give you an example, if we were to go into one of the OEMs and tell them that we would increase the stiffness of the car by 1 or 2%, they'd be doing cartwheels. So to get 23% on a car, it makes a significant difference to the way that the car handles. As you say, every body panel is carbon fibre, but literally every system in the car has been re-engineered. There's not one single bit of original electronics in the car. Every wire, all the wiring looms, the ECUs, all the switch gear has all been engineered and brought up to 21st century standards. The engine, there's over 200 components been changed in the engine. We've improved durability of the car, again bringing it up to modern day standards. There isn't an area of the car that we haven't re-engineered in a sympathetic way.
There's performance benefits to all that, but there's practical benefits as well, and running costs. I mean, I was fascinated earlier by the discussion over wiring. As you said, you've improved all of the electrics. It's now just one single connector through the bulkhead for all the engine bay wiring, so cam belt changes and things like that are much easier, which, although it gives a cost and an ease of maintenance benefit, I hope what that does is it means that people can use them, rather than thinking, oh, well, the minute I do 5,000 miles, I need to change the cam belts, and that's going to cost me however many thousands of pounds, so I'll keep the mileage down, rather than say, well, no, it's only a few £100, so it doesn't matter, so I'll get on with it. And that's far better, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we've put this car through the normal kind of durability programs that we would for any OEM product that we're engineering. You know, I'll give you an example. One of the things when we done our deep dive into the technology, we've obviously increased the output of the engine by 100 brake horsepower over the base engine that came in with the vehicle. And with that increase in power, we found one of the areas in the car that needed replacement is the quill shaft, which connects to the flywheel. So we re-engineered the quill shaft, created out of new materials, changed the tooth arrangement on it, not only so that it could handle the additional power, but so that it could meet the durability and life cycle requirements that we wanted for the vehicle.
Truly a practical car, I suppose. I mean, you can get, earlier we heard about the customisation options on the vehicle, so you can spec this any which way you want, I would imagine, with colours, wheels, upholstery, finishing touches. The list must be literally endless.
Yeah, you can literally do anything that you want. I think it is as practical as this type of vehicle is. There's space in the front for you to put a couple of overnight bags so you can go away. We wanted this to be the kind of car that when you go to pick up a set of keys, if you've got more than one vehicle, which the clients generally will have, this is the set of keys you're going for every time. Whether it be for a long trip or whether you're just nipping down to the shops, this is the one that you'd want to take.
I mean, I think if you were heading down to Goodwood for the weekend, as we are for the Festival of Speed this weekend, I think this is the perfect car for, isn't it? If you've managed to get a space in the Goodwood Hotel, I don't think I can think of a better way to spend a weekend. A nice long drive from wherever. Let's start in Edinburgh, why not, and drive it all the way down. I think that would just be the perfect weekend for me. A road trip down Goodwood Festival of Speed and drive back again, and probably take the long way back, I think.
Absolutely. I think the only sad bit would be handing the keys over to the valet parking to go into the hotel. You'd be desperate to get back up again the next day and take it out.
I do just want to go through a few of the little details in this car, because it's one of these cars that the more you look, the more you see. On first glance, you think, okay, there's a few maybe more obvious changes and touches, but there are lots of cues from other Ferraris that look quite right. The vents behind the pop-up headlamps in the bonnet look spectacular. The rear vents in the back from a 288, that's again, it just looks right on a Ferrari. But the difficulty is getting something modified that looks like it could be standard, but the next level, the OEM plus, I guess they would call in the modifying scene. And the attention to detail is such that things like the side repeaters have moved, but you went to the extent of engineering your own door handle.
Yeah, well, when Ian designed the side of the car, we got these lovely big deeper scoops for the radiators, but unfortunately what that meant is where the normal handle on the 355 is no longer there. There's nothing. We've created a kind of air intake from it. So, you know, we could have went and found a door mechanism from a parts bin from one of the other manufacturers and put it in the car, but again we felt that would do it a disservice, so we designed our own door mechanism. We wanted it to be flush onto the car so that you couldn't really see it, and there was a lot of engineering went into just that one component, making sure it had the right feel so that when you open it, it's got that nice heavy touch to it. But the doors are really, really light. They're full carbon fibre doors, so there's no weight in them at all, so to be able to get that feel of quality from opening the door and closing the door so it's got that nice shut, but with a very, very light door is quite challenging. So it's burnt a lot of hours in that, but I think the team have done really well.
I would agree. I mean, it's beautiful. Attention to detail is absolutely stunning. As an example, when we were sat over dinner talking about the car, you'd said, you know, that all of you were walking up, testing it. It was clamped into a vice, so people were going, oh, it's not quite how I want it to feel. And it's this level of attention and detail. You could just have fitted a door handle, but you couldn't have fitted just a door handle, could you?
No, I mean, if you look at the way the car's designed and the panels, you know, we're aiming for a 3.5mm panel gap all the way around the car. You know, it's been engineered to millimetre accuracy. It's a top quality product. It's one of these things you could probably engineer it forever, because I'm not sure we're ever fully happy. We always want to try and improve it, and we always will try and make things the best that we can. But it's, you know, really happy with it, really happy.
So what I wanted to know, there's a few things I want to know, lots of things I want to know, but with regards to the 355, is this just the start? What more might we see in the future? What can you tell us?
Well, obviously, you know, I think the Evoluto brand for the Driven Group is all about European sports cars and iconic cars from the past. We have lots of ideas, lots of different products that the team want to do. Over the coming year and a half, 2 years, we're obviously launching quite a few products with Ford Motor Company. So yeah, there's more in the pipeline. I can't tell you much about it, but you'll definitely be one of the first to know once we do have it ready to launch.
I'm really looking forward to this, and I should imagine that so many of you listening now are going to be thinking exactly the same thing. Fords are cars that have, regardless of where you're from, there's always a Ford in your background somewhere, so they mean a lot to a lot of people. We spoke about Capri earlier being an example of this, and I know there are definitely others out there. You know, most people will have driven an Escort or something in the past, and all those kind of cars. And I know that we're going to see some things that we can't tell you about yet, which is really frustrating. But the principle of the company is you'll take your 355 in, or maybe you'll help us source one, and then that will then be completely and utterly transformed into this vehicle. Now, I asked you a question earlier on, which I've asked you to have a think about, so I want to see if you can come up with an answer for me, which isn't classified at this point. But if you had a budget of £20,000 to buy a car, it could be any car you like, and then you can spend on it as much as you want to re-engineer a car. Now, obviously, this is a bespoke piece of jewellery. This is not a car that you go out and you pick up and it's going to be 15 grand. You know, you've got to spend the money on it to make it as perfect as it is. It's an OEM quality modification. But what car would you choose at 20 grand, and what would you do to it?
Oh, you know, that's really, really tough. And I've thought a lot about this over dinner.
Before we give you time to prep and think about it, because this is a really important question.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think there's two that I've come up with. So the first one that I would love to do would actually be the Capri. I'd love to do a modern version of, or a resto mod of the Capri. And the other one is the Mark 1 Golf GTI.
Jim's shaking his hand.
For the benefit of the tape, shake your hand.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Perfect couple of choices. Yeah, I was thinking for me it would probably be a Mark II, because my first car was a Mark II, so my first memories of driving and freedom and all that were the Mark II. So yeah, I think that would be. I can't think of anything better. And if I'm ever in the position, then I'll get a Mark II and I'll bring it along to yourselves, and you can work your magic on it, because this car is magic. It really is.
Thank you very much. And if you ever get in that position, come along, we'll go halfers on it, because I would really like to do the GTI myself. But
that's done. That's a done deal.
Sounds good.
I have just two final questions for you, if I may, and I appreciate it taking so much of your time. The first of which is, can you rattle off some stats for us? Because people are going to want to know some of the stats. This is a memory test.
Yeah, so, well, the key ones is dropping 100 kilos and increasing it by 100 brake horsepower. We're not all that fussed round about lap times or not to 60. You know, the car's about good times, not lap times. You know, and we've put a lot of time and effort into the way the car handles to make sure that it's a fun car to drive. You can put the pedal to the floor, throw it into the corners, and really enjoy driving the car.
And my final question is, your favourite detail in this car? There's lots, so this is going to be a real tricky one. For me, I think it's probably the fact that the switches, which are always sticky in a Ferrari, or this era of Ferrari, these are machined aluminium, and they light up in the dark by a light above you, effectively, don't they? UV light.
Yeah, so you've got the UV light. I mean, honestly, I'm struggling to give you one detail that I like about the car the most. Can I give you a couple?
Go on.
So I really like the air vents where we've taken the wheel and created an identical wheel on the outlets from the air vents, which you may or may not have noticed.
Not seen that yet. I'm going to go and have a look at that. Yeah.
So that's a little detail, but also what I actually think's, I mean, the rear three quarters of the car is phenomenal, but the rear of the car and the diffuser at the bottom is just a work of art. You know, it's stunning visual carbon fibre. The sculpture of it is lovely. The gear stick as well, you know, and the gear knob, carbon fibre with your machined aluminium centre and the colour matched ring round the outside of it. It's got a beautiful weight to it, nice heavy weight as you snack through the gears. It's I'm struggling to give you just one I could go on.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And like I say, the more you look at it, the more you notice the fact that it's visibly wider, 20mm wider at the back, but it's just the stance is perfect. There's so much detail in this car that it's just mind-blowing, really. And I just really want to say thank you very much for showing it to us and for sharing dinner and stories. I wish there's so much that I wish that I could tell you, but I can't. But certainly, well, we can't wait to see what's next.
And then just finally, if people do want to learn more about Driven and the car itself, where can they find you?
Yeah, have a look online, drivenautomotivegroup.com and Evoluto website. We're accepting applications for the car. We're oversubscribed at the moment, but it's fantastic. Thank you very much, guys, for taking the time to come and see us today and spend some time to get to know each other. It's been really good.
It has. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will just add, if you ever get the opportunity to have tater tots that are covered in parmesan and truffle, oh my God, man, they are good.
I think that stole the show almost as much as the car.
I think it has.
Thanks so much. Well, this has been the end of a spectacular evening, actually, hasn't it?
It's been one of those evenings. Occasionally in your youth, you'd head out for a few beers and you'd end up having one of the best nights of your life, and you'd steam in at 5 o'clock in the morning, having just had a wild ride of an evening. This is kind of like, this has been the automotive sober equivalent of that, hasn't it? It's just been a wonderful evening chatting to Ian and Mr. JWW, as he's known. Well, it's just nice to be around car geeks and just yak about cars all evening, isn't it? But the brands and the cars that we've seen is we looked at it before and it was, okay, well, they've got this, they do that. Okay, well, that all sounds okay, but yeah, not really sure. When you see the 355 in the metal, and then when you see the little peek behind the curtain we've had that we can't talk about, well, at all, actually, but
I would love to talk about that.
When you see that and how that links in, but when you look on the Driven Automotive website, so you see the 355 and then you see the Aleman name and then you see the Borum name, then I see how they all go together now, and just that car guy and girl, presumably, but that petrol head thread that runs through it all is just wonderful, and it makes me really, 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 really happy that things like this are carrying on as we lurch towards the ICE ban and whatever else. Cars like this still exist, and I think always will exist. So I'm very happy.
These guys are delivering top quality products on an OEM level. These things are insanely detailed. They make, well, these are effectively, these could be a production car if you had enough money to produce one. I would love so much to tell you about what Borum are doing right now, and if you've seen their teaser videos, then you'll probably get a rough idea as to what it is.
Yes, I think if you haven't seen them, look them up, because they're well worth a watch. They will whet your appetite. The Evoluto stuff you can see is now all out in the public, and there's a car there, it's a thing. The Borum stuff is completely undercover in all the preview stuff, isn't it? But
we've seen it.
If you're a bit of a Ford nut and you're getting slightly excited at the thought of what this could be, it's better.
You're right, is what you are.
Be more excited, because it's better.
Yes, it is. And we can't tell you anything more about that, because otherwise we will be sued.
Yeah.
And on that note, I suppose it's probably time to end. So
Yeah.
I've been Mike, goodbye.
I've been Jim. Goodbye and take care.
And this has been UK Motor Talk. Thank you for listening.
UK Motor Talk, a First Take Media production.